It's Damon and Robert's 5 Songs, a podcast starring Damon and Robert. 10 songs enter, 10 songs leave. It's not that kind of podcast.
About 5 new songs each, 10 songs in total, right?
Math skills growing every week.
It's been getting better for our 4th episode. Look at that. The math just keeps on coming.
Yep.
Yeah. We got some exciting options on our list.
Absolutely. I think every week is exciting.
I do too. I think we've been growing.
I say week when we do this on a monthly basis.
I know. For some reason, I want to refer to it as weekly too, but we're not performing this activity anywhere close to weekly. So, but welcome back. If you've listened to our other episodes, we're glad you're joining us again. And can I run some numbers on our?
Of course. I look forward to this every time.
Okay, so let's see. So this, we did it again. We each picked our 5 songs, swapped them, and now we will say Robert's earliest tune this year, this week, this month, this episode on this list. Exactly. Time is a flat circle. We're abandoning it. The earliest tune on Robert's list, 1989. And I was I didn't go back and look, but I'm like, that's pretty early for you. Perhaps tied with some of the the Queensryche stuff last time. Was that early? Maybe ish somewhere. And Robert's latest tune on your list this time, 2017. So a pretty impressive stretch from back in the day to within the last...
near modern.
Exactly, the near
pre-COVID.
Precisely in the before time, the long ago before COVID. And my earliest tune, my numbers are much less different than earliest tune 1975, so I was like 2 when the earliest tune came out, and the latest tune 1983. I wasn't even in high school. So again, despite my attempts to expand out, I did pretty good previous episodes. I think I found some.
And that song is a remake from 78 or 79. So you really were.
So I'm really right. Exactly. I'm not even really there. So no. And so Robert's list, 30 minutes, 28 seconds.
Love the long
averaging
songs.
Around 6 minutes a song. And for, roughly my list, 22 minutes, 57 seconds, about 23 minutes.
You've
so
come
about
up
4.5 minutes. So a little bit. Yeah. I feel like you came down, I came up. We're a little closer. We're meeting in the middle. Yeah. Look at us.
Together, that's a good album, though.
That is. That's a
good size.
That's a solid, right. If it was jazz, we could make it a double album. We'd have 2 discs.
All kinds of noodling. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So I think an interesting list for us this time. Robert, would you I can't remember who began last time. Should you begin or should I?
I will go first. I don't remember, but
I don't
I'm
either.
Ready.
But please go forward, sir, if and you are ready.
I am ready. So I have my notes. Here's my notes.
Okay.
So song number 1 for episode 4 by Damon is They Don't Know by Tracey Ullman. First note, Tracey Ullman?
Really? Is that Tracey Ullman?
Yeah. I was like, the comedian Tracey Ullman? Obviously familiar with her. I think I first heard of her from her U.S. I think big break was she had a sitcom, not a sitcom, a reality show,
a variety show.
A variety show. There's the word. Back in 87 at the launch of the Fox network.
Right.
Look at that.
There.
Also, people may know that from where The Simpsons came from.
Yes.
I also wrote insert joke about Fox turning into hardcore porn so gradually that nobody noticed, which is a Simpsons reference. Anyway, I knew she's really talented. I was not aware she was also a pop singer. I knew she sang as part of her comedy. She sang as part of her variety show.
Part of her act, yeah.
Yeah, but this was new to me. I assumed correctly that this was a cover song. I assumed it was from the 50s. Because it definitely has that 50s girl group.
That's a good assumption, yeah.
Yeah, it's from the late 70s. I thought, listening to it, I'm waiting for the swerve because I'm thinking, she's a comic. There's going to be the swerve in it. There's not. She plays it straight. Although, it sounds like the whole world is against her and her man, and that sounds like the setup for a Dateline story right there.
Exactly.
So, where did you first hear this song, and why is it on your list?
I think I heard this song in the 80s when it came out. I think I heard it on like Friday night videos or maybe
Huh.
MTV. Like there's a video for it that if you
Huh.
ever get a chance to watch, because she's Tracey Ullman in those videos, the video is lovely and entertaining, and she's great. And there's like a funny little cameo of Paul McCartney at the end, who's like her secret boyfriend. So it's just,
Ooh.
there is like some
The
jokey
bad
bits
boy
in
Paul
the
McCartney.
video. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, I just, I heard it early on and I kind of fell in love with that big production number sound of it. And it is, it's
Yeah.
like it sounds like a girl group from the 50s, like something that Phil Spector would have produced, like
Right.
the Ronettes or the Shirelles. It's got that great sound, and she's got a great voice. And to tell you the truth, since like her show came on Fox, I've always had a little bit of crush on Tracy Ullman. So I think
Attractive lady. Nothing
she's
wrong
just
there.
amazing, like super
Yeah.
talented and really
Yes.
smart.
Yeah.
And
Multi-hyphenate.
yeah, exactly. And does hits, sings, dances, does the jokes, does the funny. So
Does the
kind of
funny.
is the whole package. But yeah, there's something about this tune, and I think it kind of hits that sort of 50s vibe. It's not the last time we'll have this conversation today, I don't
Nope.
think. Yeah, because I kind of hit a little theme for you this time. But yeah, there's something
Picked up on
about it
that.
that I like. That's really, I just love that sound. I love that 50s. Everything is big and bombastic, and even
Yes.
it is a cover tune. Christy McCall, I think, is the lady who wrote it, and in '79 released it, like so a little bit before this, and it did okay. And if you go back and listen to that, it doesn't sound that different. It's pretty, like Tracey Ullman didn't completely reimagine it. She kind of took that version and like dialed it all up to 11. Like everything's a little louder, a little bigger, a little, and I think it works a lot better in
Yeah.
her version. But
I
if you
thought it
look
was
at the
Broadway.
two, they're
I
pretty
really
similar.
thought that there was
Yeah,
a show behind it, but no,
yeah,
it was not.
yeah. And I think this is one of the early ones where I'm like, ooh, I really like that. And what is one of the things I like about it? And I think it's part of that like Broadway. I'm trying to put my finger on this sort of, my wife Romaine always tells me, she's like, you're like one like day in your teenage years away from like loving musical theater. And like being like South Pacific would have been your favorite. I'm like, that's harsh but fair.
Yeah.
I get it. And it's songs like this, I think, that contribute. There's something about that big performative kind of, like, it does seem like you could see people sing it on a stage and it
Yeah.
would fit right in, but yeah, so it was an early example for me of this kind of sound that I've gravitated to, and this kind of like big production number that I love. And yeah, it's Tracey Ullman, so
Yeah.
how can you go wrong?
Yeah. I was surprised to find, in digging further, she's got 2 albums of pop songs, mostly covers. I don't know that. In fact, I'm not sure there are any originals,
Yeah, I
but she
don't know that
does.
she writes her own, but
Yeah.
yeah, this is
So
off
there's a
the
lot to it.
album You Broke My Heart in 17 Places.
Which again, I thought comedy. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Yeah, precisely. So it's interesting, but you're right. Like she plays this straight. There's no like jokey turn to this
Right.
song.
Other than it just being, oh honey.
Exactly, right. Precisely. And and she gets her yucks in the video a little bit,
Yeah.
and has lots of costumes, as she's sort of famous for, and
Right.
different characters. So that's pretty great. But yeah,
Very
Tracey
good.
Ullman, who knew? See, and multi-talented, double
It's a good
threat.
first choice. It's actually, I had no objection to this song whatsoever. It again, the biggest surprise was that it did play straight. It was not,
Yeah, that
no yucks. Yeah.
right. That I was ready for a joke, and no
Right.
joke
Yeah.
arrived. Very good.
Waiting, nothing. Okay.
Wait, nothing. No, nope, no, sir. Well, allow me to transition to the. That's no transition at all, really. I just said the word transition.
The hard segue. Yep.
Exactly, the hard turn to the first song I have on Robert's list today, which is "Secret World Live" by Peter Gabriel, and I was specifically instructed to procure the live version, which I did
Did
off
you?
of the Secret World Live album,
That's
even. So
a
that
fine
would
choice.
work.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, Let me just start by saying I've always felt like Peter Gabriel is one of those guys, like there's a few artists like Peter Gabriel and like Tom Waits is the other one that occurs to me. Like their work is always like above the fray. Like whatever's going on, I feel like he's a guy who's gonna do what Peter Gabriel's gonna do, and whether it's 1980 or 1970 or 2000, it's not that he doesn't take ideas from music that's going on, but I never feel like he's kind of like being pushed to do whatever the music of the moment
Right.
is. So that being said, I've never considered myself. I love Peter Gabriel. I've never considered myself like a true rabid fan. My wife is, and just missed sadly seeing him in concert here recently. But so anyway, I was going to ask you, what is his official title now? Are we calling him a poet wizard? Or like a poet warlord? I don't know what he is, but he's like he's iconic.
Yeah.
Anyway, and in terms of, I think we'll talk about it in this song, or I will. But I think this song doubles down on something he does really well, better than anybody else, I think. And uh, for me, it starts with Salisbury Hill. Like I can't hear Salisbury Hill without like tearing up. It's a very emotional song for me, and I think that's because it's one of the only songs I can think of until I heard this one that really kind of captures something about the spiritual life or a spiritual experience in a way that means something to me, and that's not kind of hollow and flat,
Right.
but that's very kind of workaday or very sort of very accessible to me. Anyway, it's a cool thing he does, and I don't know how he does it, but he does it here too, I think. So yeah, I really like this. It's really celebratory. It's like it feels like a big live Peter Gabriel number. It's got lots of great percussion. The bass is awesome. It's got like a real sort of rhythmic drum beat, and kind of similar to some of the other music we've talked about, like the prog metal stuff. It feels like it's more in movements. Like it
Right.
has sort of verse chorus moments, but they're surrounded by these kind of movements of music that take you sort of kind of on a journey with the song, and it doesn't move like a regular song does. And that feels very Peter Gabriel to me too, right? Like there's like some of that traditional song structures in there, but I'm not going to be bound by that. I'm going to give you a little bit of it, but then I'm going to like vamp off and do all these cool things that I want to do. And the song unfurls like a story, which I love, and I like that Peter Gabriel has like his own lexicon for things. Like he's got his own imagery and like things, like meaningful things to him, and he doesn't feel beholden to explain those to us,
Right.
and I like that. He gives it to us very plain. There's lots of cool stuff in here about trains and wheels, and there's a lot of imagery that I think is really impactful. But it's not because he stops to tell me what any of it means. Like he's dropping it and he's moving on, and some of it'll recur. So anyway, it's just a really well put together piece of art. I thought, and I was trying to figure out. Maybe what it's about, and this is hard for me too with Peter Gabriel
It was taking me a long time to get there, so
I'm like,
don't feel bad.
So I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But I was thinking, there's like this recurring refrain, what was it we were thinking of? And it's a great line because it's really ambiguous in the song. I'm not sure. I'm like, is that judgment? Like, what were we thinking? Or is it like real recollection? Like, what were we thinking back? Like, what was, trying to get back into like a different state of mind where things were different? Or, yeah, it's presented in such a way that it feels like it could go either way. And there's all this imagery too that seems to be about like how we're connected even though we're not connected, which is like kind of Buddhism sort of wheel stuff, like spinning on the big wheel. The wheel is turning, spinning round and round, and the house is crumbling, but the stairways stand with no guilt, no shame, no sorrow or blame. Whatever it is, we are all the same. I'm like, oh man, that's so there's there's clearly a relationship there here that is singing to, but it's also sort of being likened to this idea of connection, this idea that we're all kind of connected in these basic ways that maybe we don't like to think about or that are difficult to think about, and that this person is sort of wrestling with some kind of relationship in this bigger picture. Like in this, it's like I still have this, we are still related in some way, but I'm not sure. It feels like maybe a relationship gone sour, or maybe not. Maybe it's just like looking back over a relationship over time that's changed. I don't know. I really like it, and I feel like I could sit here and talk about it for way longer than I should. So I'm going to stop now. But anyway, I really enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
it's great. It's also a lot of fun to watch live because I don't know if you saw, like the band exits like through a hole in the stage one by one, which is amazing and like a very Peter Gabriel kind of performance art thing to do.
Did you see the one where they're performing in the round, that they have a circular stage?
No, I don't think I saw. The one I saw I thought was pretty straight on, but there was near the end of the song he sort of walks out and opens a hole in the floor, and the band sort of stops playing one by one and walks up. Yeah, so it was impressive.
He's always had this crazy visual sense for his music, even from the Genesis days when he painted himself before anybody else knew that was coming. Like, the rest of the band is like, what the hell are you doing?
Like, I didn't think Genesis was face painters.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't seem like the types. Yeah.
So this song, as I understand it, and I'm certainly not the arbiter. Mr. Gabriel does not go into super detail for most of his songs.
Didn't call you and talk to you about it.
Exactly. Okay. I thought at first it was about an affair, because there's some stuff in there that's very much like, we didn't. Why did we think this was going to last? But it's actually about there's a lot of metaphor between the secret garden and a house and the relationship, and that as the house is crumbling, so goes the relationship.
Right. It's a symbol of the relationship falling apart. Yeah.
It's actually about the crumbling of his marriage to his first wife, who divorced him actually for, I think, his manager or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
It's dark. I mean, at first, it's very much like it starts out kind of a love story, and then it goes on, and it's like, well, we're doing okay. We're not doing so good. Things are falling apart, And can we get it back? What we think of, we were hiding love, and it was hiding love from each other after a time.
Yeah.
Specifically, the live version, I think it's a better song, and B, there's a small piece of darkness in the live version. I don't know if the one that's on the album, the one that is his daughter singing backup.
Oh,
his daughter from the marriage that he's singing about,
from the broken marriage he's singing about. Wow.
And secondly, the daughter is the origin of the song "Talk to Me," because she stopped speaking to him after her parents separated, and he was trying to get her back. He literally wrote a song trying to get her back into his life. I mean, like,
that's amazing. Yeah, and what's cool about that is, it's like, I could never know that. And this song still really works in all sorts of ways. And that's, I think just the sign of, like, as we go on, like the signs of these, like, real artistry in some of these tunes is like, you don't have to understand every, dotting every I and crossing every T to get this, because he just, like, such a powerful, like, emotional punch in these. What did I say? I said Peter Gabriel songs are butt shakers, but they're also really smart. It can make me feel like I'm pressing on my own emotional belly button.
So he's got, like, the best musicians. Like, a lot of them have been with him forever and a day. The really guy from King Crimson who plays bass for him, whose name
got like the little sticks on his fingers in this one, which is great. There's just so a great tone he gets. And he's amazing. He's one of those bass players like at Whistle who, like, hardly moves or just sways a little
and like, could play anything in his sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. So I actually got to see him last year or the year before. And it's the first time I've ever seen him. It's maybe the last time I ever see him, because he's getting up there. He's in his 80s.
He is,
amazing. But he talked about the fact that he said, the bass player's been with me 48 years, and here's the guitar player, only 46 years.
Exactly. Only he's the new guy.
Yes. They razz him about that all the time.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
He had a couple of horn players. He has a drummer who's African, who has some African rhythms beyond compare.
Right.
He had a woman singing backup who also played the cello. I thought it was really strange to have somebody singing backup and playing cello, just a couple of songs. She had an amazing voice. I mean, the whole concert was visually stunning, audioly stunning. The only thing that was weird was there were people in the audience that were clearly only there for, like, a handful of hits off of, like,
right.
And they were in for a weird night.
I was going to say, it's got to be a very weird experience if you show up. I'm, like, expecting to hear, like, In Your Eyes and Salisbury Hill and go home.
Right.
I'm like, you're going to have...
They were there for Sledgehammer.
There you go, Sledgehammer. There you go.
Which-
See, which I put out of my mind because it came out when I was a teenager, and it was huge for a while, and it just, it was part of the popular music that I wasn't into at the time, even though now I like it a great deal when I hear it.
I think he was trying to do a Motown song for like nostalgia purposes. It just happened to be his biggest moneymaker of all time was this Motown song that he was, I think he was having fun with it. I think, unfortunately, he's gone back to the well a couple of times. He's got a couple of other songs like Steam, and they're not bad songs, but definitely they're not. You can kind of tell he's like, well, let's try this again. Whereas most of his stuff is a lot more, like you said, own his own plane, 100%.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. It must be really interesting to be in the music business as long as somebody like Peter Gabriel, and to have, because to your point, I can't imagine that if Peter Gabriel calls any musician and says, "Do you want to be in my band?" the answer is like an immediate yes. So of course he's going to have like the best musician, and he cares too. He cares about what that music sounds like, so he knows who the good people are, and they know who he is. So of course he's got this amazing band, and once people are in it, why would you want to leave Peter Gabriel's band? But it must be really difficult to have that, to be that kind of artist, and not, like, my sense is that he doesn't care, like the hits are not why he's doing it, but at the same time, over the course of a career like that, I would bet somebody's probably like, well, this is great, man, and keep doing all these tours and stuff, but you really need another hit. It's like, we gotta get, I can kind of feel like some of it's maybe just like, well, this is what I gotta do to keep doing what I gotta do. I'll circle back and do another one of these, and we'll be able to do this for another 10 years, which is great.
There are actors who do that. They do the blockbuster that funds all the indie films that they want to do.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It's like David Lynch directing The Elephant Man so he could direct Blue Velvet. It was like a deal. I'll do this.
I gotta eat, but I want to do this.
It's like, I'll do your thing, and then you let me do my thing. Right. Yeah. So anyway, man, no, this is a great pick. I was happy to see it on the list. Awesome. Peter Gabriel is a name I am happy to see.
Hard to pick one Peter Gabriel song, but I think that one is my most evocative.
Very good pick. And the live version, like you said, just really got a lot of energy and a lot in it that is going to be hard to capture in a studio recording for sure. One down.
A lot of energy.
A lot of energy. We got big energy coming in this episode.
You know what else has energy?
What's that?
Tubes.
The Tubes, my second song. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about this one, I gotta say.
All right. So when I first heard, the song is "What Do You Want from Life" by the Tubes.
Tubes.
When I first heard it, I was thinking it was the same group that went on to do "Video Killed the Radio Star," but no, that was the Buggles.
That's right.
Not the Tubes.
Different obscure band, but yes.
Yeah. Tubes, in fact, totally new to me. So I was mistaken because I thought before I'd heard of all the artists.
That you knew, yeah.
This one I did not. This sort of feels like this pseudo yacht rock of Steely Dan, a little bit.
That's acceptable. I'm with
you.
The
lyrics more straightforward than Steely Dan, certainly.
Certainly.
So despite the sort of happy, upbeat music, the lyrics are very dark. Oh, you wanted happiness? Someone you can love and trust? No, but here, have some material shit.
Right.
That's good too, right? And then the end sounds a bit like a rapidly increasing speed to chipmunk list of game show prizes.
Yeah. I think that's a really good description. Yeah.
The song is very much a, what do you really want? What do you really, really want? And then, no, you're not getting that.
Right.
I'm sorry. All those nice things you're asking for, let's have a bad trade instead. Let's give you
all
something
those great,
that
meaningful things.
Yeah, no. But on the other hand, here you go with some crap.
Exactly. You can have all these things. Yes.
So the Tubes, how were you introduced to them?
Well,
this is an old song. This is
the oldest. Well, quite old. So this is from their debut album from '75. So really old. I learned about the Tubes from my older brother Tony, who was a huge Tubes fan. He was about 10 years older than me, so way ahead of me. But the Tubes were a band, a San Francisco like weirdo art band from the '70s is the best way I could describe them. It was a huge band. It had like, I don't know, probably 8 people sometimes and 12 people other times. It was like one of these huge early, it wasn't really a prog rock band, but there's something proggy about them. Like they're very
that Captain Beefheart
in terms of they're real loose on structure. Like it was talking about like the Peter. It strikes me a little bit like the Peter Gabriel. Like they're in verse and choruses, but they're also kind of float in these weird musical passages that are more like movements than verses or choruses. They're very skilled like musicians. There's a lot of there's somebody who plays very good flamenco guitar in this band, and there's a lot of it in this song, like that kind of Spanish sounding guitar that just seems like a little off kilter here. Anyway, they kind of had two hits that they were sort of famous for. They wrote a song called White Punks on Dope, which got covered a lot, and there's a Motley Crue, I think, cover of it. And they had a couple like kitschy songs that were popular too. I think they had one about bondage called Mondo Bondage that was kind of provocative in the 70s, and another one like kind of made fun of disco music called Slipped My Disco. The guy who throws his back out disco dancing. Anyway, but they had like one hit in the 80s, I think, called She's a Beauty.
Yeah.
Don't Fall in Love, She's a Beauty, She's One in a Million Girl. Anyway, it was a big radio hit.
Yeah.
So that's them. But they were kind of poorly marketed in the 70s. Like they had these huge live shows that were very elaborate. My brother saw them in concert, so they did like 16 costume changes during the concert where they'd go and come out in these elaborate costumes and do these bits around the songs, and they would like plant people in the audience that they could fight with. It was a whole like a very vaudevillian kind of kooky routine. But they never really like broke through. They had a little success here and there, and they made it a little in the 80s, but they never really got big. But the thing I like about them, on top of all this like kookiness, is they write some really great songs about the 70s. Like this song, I think, is really telling. Like you said, it's like, what do you want for what do you want from life? And they ask you like all these things. Do you want that? Do you want these kind of meaningful things? And some of them are provocative. What do you want from life? To kidnap an heiress or threaten her with a knife? You're like, wait a minute, what do you? But but they go through like all these things that could be meaningful. And then to your point, you get, well, you can't have that, but here's all the things you can have, which are all these kind of like kitschy things you wouldn't necessarily want, or Bob Dylan's new
a new car.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But it is there's a lot of it that has this kind of like bitter sweetness about the 70s in it, and the fact that like there was this everything seemed to be getting better, but it seemed to be more hollow too. and I get that sense from their music. Like that they saw that and were kind of commenting on it in real time, and that I really kind of dig. So they hit me in a couple places, kind of this weird nostalgia from when I was a kid, and remember my brother listening to this weird records, but also to kind of think back to that time, and sort of like I was too young really I was like 7 in the 70s. So I don't really understand it, but through songs like this, I feel like give me kind of like a little glimpse to like, oh, this is like, it would have been really difficult to be like an artistic person in the 70s, like trying to make a living doing something like this and still trying to say something meaningful. And I think that this song kind of captures
from the hopes of the hippies and the the flower generation to Vietnam to
to Altamont, like just this kind of like the death of the dream was dead, but hey man, we could get a new Mazda or a moped or a Winnebago. Hell, a herd of Winnebagos. We're giving them away. It's a ridiculous rant at the end, and I think I've memorized the whole thing over my life, which I definitely recommend. But so the Tubes, they did their first few albums are really great. I think this is my favorite tune off their first album.
Got it. Very good.
Yeah.
All right, let's see you segue this one.
Number 2, segue. Ooh. We are going to number 2 on Robert's list, which, I'm not even going to try to segue. I got nothing, man.
Would you care to take a guess?
It's Wood by Alice in Chains from the album Dirt, which I believe, was this on the Singles movie soundtrack too?
It was, yes.
Okay,
it was the second album.
Because I watched the video and it had some, I'm like, oh, I kind of remember it. All right, so I have some grunge confessions to make before.
Uh-oh.
So I confess that
I'm not sure I can absolve you of these.
I know I'm not asking for absolution. Just to be clear, I confess that Alice in Chains is a band I should probably know more about. I was a grown adult making memories when they had their moment, like, when they were big, and somehow I kind of missed them. Like I just didn't get deeply into grunge music for the most part. Like I knew Pearl Jam, Nirvana a little bit, but I didn't get deeply in. But I had friends who did. Like my buddy, like loved this band. Like Alice in Chains had all those records, talked about them a lot. But I just must not pay much attention. But anyway, did they do Rooster? Was that one of their songs that was
yes,
like
sir.
famous? Okay, so anyway, this is, you can see my Alice in Chains knowledge is spotty. And was this also the band that the day Seattle died was also about the guy in this band?
It was
or
half
is that
them and half Nirvana, yes.
okay? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I made some connections. Anyway,
They're
this
there.
is Wood by Alice in Chains. And this sounds really good. I mean, all that being said, like I'm like, why the hell didn't I pay more attention to this? Because it sounds awesome. The bass sound is like really like a groovy kind of growl, and the singer, I don't know if I don't know which one of these folks passed
That'd be
away
the singer, Lane
untimely, but
Staley. Yep.
yeah. Oh, his voice is crazy good, man. Like he's really got a set of pipes, and the whole thing, like just the production of it, the drums sound kind of epic, and the drums and the bass together get this kind of like just push each other. I don't know. It's heavy.
I love that you're discovering this 28 years late.
Exactly, right? I'm like, I could see why people like this. I'm like, it's heavy, but it's sparse too. It's not like really busy. It's heavy, but it's not really busy or like filled up. Like it's got room to breathe. And it's interesting to me. One of the things I noted on here, I'm like, this seems way less heavy than a lot of other stuff we've listened to on your list. Maybe I'll ask you to comment on that if you agree or disagree. I think maybe either way. I just thought
first line is "Know Me Broken by My Master."
Well, we're going to talk about that. I'm not talking about lyrics yet. But yeah, musically, it's really catchy, like very catchy. And I was like walking around singing it, in the house, humming it. So yeah, it's very well done. And it's, I don't know. There's like, I made a note. I'm like, this can't change like keys at the end. There's like one little bit at the end that feels really different to me. And it seems to be now in terms of wrestling with the lyrics here. I confess I struggle. It seems to be about someone kind of begging for forgiveness or understanding. So I made a big mistake, like try to see it once my way, which is a cool line too. And really like, greatly delivered by the singer. Have I run too far? Have I gone and left you all alone? And then it's like would is like at the very last line, like if I would, could you be left all alone? And I noted the weird opening line too, by my master, love hereafter. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know. So I feel like there's a turn I'm missing in the first line and the end line that kind of make the stuff in the middle mean something I'm just overlooking. But yeah, I really liked it, man, and I can see why people liked it at the time and why they were so big. Like it's clear, like musically really talented. The vocalist is quite talented, and the lyrics are really engaging. Again, even though I'm not 100% sure what the song is about at this point, I'm still walking around singing it in my kitchen, I guess.
Now that you've brought this up, I feel unprepared because I don't fully know what it's about. I do think it is an ask for forgiveness. I do think it's I've done some terrible things. Could you forgive me? I'm not asking for it, but I want to know if I did.
Right. If I did, could I? Right. If I asked,
could you forgive me? Yeah.
If I would, could you? Yeah. Forgive me.
I'm going to put in our notes online. There's a version of this with just his extracted vocals from the mix.
Oh, okay.
And they're stunning. I mean, he's so good all by himself. I mean, he's got some reverb and vibrato.
Sure, some effects on there, but
but it is still just his vocals. I don't even think so. The guitarist, wow, I'm poor guy. I can't think of his name. Typically, does sing backup for Alice in Chains, and he's an excellent singer. He actually has his own solo work that he's done that he sings quite well.
Nice.
the third or the fourth, I think it's the third Alice in Chains album, was going to be his solo album, but Lane came back to the band. Lane Staley, the gentleman who died,
Right.
had a bit of a heroin problem, which is kind of saying, I like oxygen.
Right. Yeah, having any heroin problem is
right.
sadly
Yeah,
a bad
they tend to
heroin
be
problem.
big.
Yeah.
So he, throughout the band's time, came and went a little bit, and he also had crippling stage fright. Like, he was one of those people who had the lights directly in his eyes, so he couldn't see the crowd.
See the people.
Which is probably rough on the rest of the band, who's like, I also can't see the people. Thanks so much.
Exactly. It's like, I might want to see the people.
But they were, for their time, amazing. They were very different from, like you say, the grunge.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot more metal influence, although it's not. It was weird because there was a kind of prototype Alice in Chains that was almost a glam band. But they certainly mixed that up later before, they got their first album released.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan, and I was very sad when he basically killed himself. I mean, heroin won that fight. They still are around. They got a new singer who is a very talented gentleman. His name is William Duvall. Who does not sound like Lane Staley, but has amazing singing capability. And they put out some music that has been good, but it is never the same. I mean, it's just
never
like this
to
is
recapture the glory of the early recordings with him. Yeah, that's tough. No, I remember, my impression of them when I was younger is that they weren't a grunge band; they were a metal band, and I don't think that's true now. But that was just my kind of impression from just sort of hearing a little bit about them. But maybe it sounds like it was an informed ignorance. It was not totally right, but it wasn't totally off base either. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder like how I missed bands like that. How do I not know more about Alice in Chains? I don't know.
This was right when I really got into music, I think. The late 80s, early 90s. I was born in 74, so it was like, peak period of me finding my own musical voice.
That's right.
Such as it is.
Yeah, I was the same. I was born in 72, so just a couple of years before.
Yep.
So yeah, we were pretty close, right? And this was probably by the time Alice in Chains came along, I probably didn't have room for him anymore. Stuck in on something else. This is my thing. It's nice to look back and to revisit these like that, because I'm like, oh man, some of this stuff like this, I didn't really give a chance when it was out the first time. So it's nice to hear it again and say, oh wait, this was not like what teenage Damon thought it was. It's
like our podcast has some meaning to it. It's weird.
Almost like it may change me as a person. Maybe.
We're sad.
Yeah. So that was a fun one too. Alice in Chains, Wood, and that was what are our numbers on that one? That's back from 92.
92. Yep.
92.
Okay.
I listened to a version that had recently been remastered, but same diff. But yeah. So very.
And I'll put both. I'll put the original version and the vocals only version up.
No, that'd be great. I like to hear that vocals only version. I bet it's
pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's a shame too that guy had such stage fright, because he looks so badass. Like, I watched the video. He's one of those guys. You just look like the front man of a band, and I always feel for guys like this. Like, oh man, you look the part, so everybody assumed you felt the part too, and you didn't. No. And that's got to be like a really hard place to be. So
and it's interesting, there is I have not seen the whole thing, I've only seen a piece of it, documentary made with like some home footage from him, from his family, from other members of the band, and he seemed, prior to Fame, to be kind of a funny guy. Like he had a good sense of humor, whatever else, and then Fame came and it like shut him the hell up, and he clamped everything down. And then, became the drug addict. He may have already been a drug addict. He became, deeper into the drugs, and he never was happy.
Yeah.
That was
it's not worst. I don't think it's a good fit for everybody. I think it's a destructive. I mean, obviously you don't, we have not saying anything nobody has ever thought, but I think it's clearly more destructive. I think there are people who are destroyed by the music industry who would not have been destroyed had they sought work elsewhere.
Right.
I just think for some people, I think a lot of the folks that we lose, I'm like, if that person had done something else, they'd still be around. It's just.
I'm sad to say, now that I've I'm looking at my list again. There's another member on this list who is no longer with us. So we'll get to that in a future.
Okay.
Song.
All right.
And again, like you say, if not for the music business, may still be with us. Literally, we'll get to that. It's just foreshadowing that you didn't even realize you were making.
We like foreshadowing.
Indeed. We're all about the story.
We're all about our list of narrative tools. That's right. We got some foreshadowing for you. Maybe we'll go throw some irony in. I don't know what's going to happen.
What could happen?
That's right. All right, sir. So that's the second one on Robert's list, Wood by Alice in Chains.
So I guess I will take us into number 3 on your list.
Yes, please.
And this also may have some cinematic quality. I don't know if you're what you're going for, but this is the longest title I think of all the songs.
It is a long title.
Took the words right out of my mouth by Meatloaf, Mr. Loaf, if you will.
Mr. Loaf, if you must.
Before I start, Scott Ian, the guitar player and spokesperson for the band Anthrax.
Anthrax, yeah.
Second wife is one of Meatloaf's daughters.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so his father-in-law is Mr. Loaf.
That's awesome.
And he did a spoken word tour, although he called it his speaking words tour because he had to be contrary.
Yeah, because he's right.
He was a real fun guy. Really, really nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said, what do you say to Meatloaf, your father-in-law?
Right.
How do you introduce yourself to Mr. Loaf?
Mr. Loaf.
He's like, of course he's a stupidly nice guy. But when I first had to meet him, I'm like, holy shit, this is Meatloaf.
Exactly, right? Yeah. He's a legend. Yeah. Yeah. Scary.
Okay. So, that opening is a very different vibe from the rest of the song. The opening,
it is, isn't it?
If you haven't watched it yet, please go pause it or listen to it or watch it. Or whatever, help yourself. It's very different. It's basically a little, it's not a poem exactly, but it's this dark
conversation, right?
Yeah,
yeah, and it's a little vibey. It's kind of, I think, dark is a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Well, it starts out dark, and then at the end, so you say that to all the guys.
Turns into a joke at the end, right?
Yeah. Not so ominous anymore. I was not aware that this was Meatloaf's first single. I certainly don't think it's his best song, but it's definitely a Meatloaf song. I mean, it's him and Jim Steinman had their strong path. Yes. and this is in it.
That's right. They were doing it their way.
Yes. So it's got the very epic, soaring power vocals, power music. I mean, it is. Yeah. It's a Meatloaf song. If you've heard a Meatloaf song, this is not a surprise. If you haven't heard a
Meatloaf song, this is a good. Yeah, like this will show you the Meatloaf things.
This is it. Yes. This is the example.
Exactly.
I'm amused that, like by Paradise by the Dashboard Light, both of these songs have the "Of course, baby, I love you" vibe to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this one is the chorus is, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say I love you,
right?
But while we were kissing,
exactly, I was just getting ready to say the very thing.
So it's this line, or I put this lie at the core of the song. Yeah. It's very similar. I do think, as good as Steinman is as a writer and Meatloaf is as a performer, they got stuck in their choruses. I think the chorus gets repeated a few too many times here.
That's fair. That's
There's
fair
room
criticism.
for another verse if you'd cut that down a little bit. But it's like, what you're getting. You're getting a very 4-course meal of Meatloaf. I didn't even think about that.
You're getting a 4-course. That's a lot of loaf.
That's a lot of meatloaf.
It is.
But yeah, so there's the band Sisters of Mercy. You've probably heard of them. They did a song with Steinman. I don't know if he did the song. Yeah, he did the song and the video with them.
Okay.
And they were trying to make fun of a member who'd exited the band, saying that he could only write very shallow and vapid stuff, and that was not the way that Andrew Eldritch, the singer and songwriter for Sisters of Mercy, he worked. So they did a song called "This Corrosion," which has got the Steinman, it's got organs, it's got a choral. It's overblown and pompous as hell.
Right.
Turned out to be their most popular song.
We're like, damn it.
That's not what he wanted at all.
It's not what I was going for.
It's effectively a British diss track, which turned into being their biggest hit.
Their number one song. That's awesome.
So Steinman, that he is, I mean, operatic. Not that may not be the exact right term, but story through song.
Yeah.
And this is very evocative too. I mean, he gets you right in the backseat of that car, basically.
Right. Yeah. There's one of the lines about like the mist crawling on the beach. There's a couple of really vivid images in there that kind of jump out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So painting a picture, amazing. Absolutely. Feel the sweaty teenage something. Yeah.
It does kind of capture that sweaty. Yeah, sweaty teenage feels like a good descriptor for kind of all of Meatloaf to me.
I mean, it becomes iconic is not the right word, but just like it's the same for every age. And it's and I'm going to throw Gen Z under the bus here. It's like they think that they've invented everything, and it's just like this song applies to every generation just because it's the same ultimately, boy-girl interaction when you're young.
Yeah, it's the same, right? It's every generation, right? I'm sure we thought we invented all this stuff too when we were kids. But yeah, it's interesting. I looked it up. This album stayed on the charts for 9 years, and up through 2016, it sold at least 200,000 copies every year since it's come out. And I think that speaks to that. Like there's like a universal teenage experience baked into this album that for some reason I think allowed me anyway as a young man to access some emotional content that I was kind of discouraged from accessing otherwise. Like there's a lot of, there's something like jokey and shticky about these songs, and they have the Steinman. And if you all don't know who Jim Steinman is, like go look him up, because you do know Jim Steinman's songs. Like Total Eclipse of the Heart, Jim Steinman. Like if
he
it's
did
big,
for Cher too, didn't he?
Yeah, he wrote for a lot of people, and he had a lot of hits. A lot of them were hits. But he wrote this. He wrote everything on this album. He wrote like a stage show based on this. So there was again kind of, obviously part of what I like about this is it's kind of showy, ooh-wah, ooh-wah, which Todd Rundgren produced it, and he dialed a lot of that back. To hear him talk about it, he's like, they had it really like dialed in for the stage. So he's like, there was like a lot of like chorusy shoebop stuff that I just cut, that he dialed them back. So it's interesting to think that like this one, even as overblown as it is
could have been bigger.
Exactly, a reined-in version of where they started, which is crazy. But yeah, I just really this album was huge for me when I was like 16. It was a decade old by then, and it's super old now. But
these are evergreen feelings.
Yeah, I think for certainly for a young man growing up in like the 70s and the 80s, there was a lot here that I could relate to, or like a lot of like struggling with like early romantic feelings and relationships and stuff that, a lot of rock songs aren't going to give you a whole lot of insight into. But these kind of these awkward conversations that these characters have with the ladies in their lives, I'm like, it's very meaningful to me, or it seems there's something very true about it, even inside this kind of like glitzy, polished, silly, shoeboppy exterior that's real overblown and dramatic. So yeah, there's some things that just still really speak to me about it. I can put this album on and like spin through it, and I know the words to every song on it, and they're just ones that kind of baked into me in those teenage years. And I think it's a perfect time. Like if you're a 16-year-old kid, find this album. You need this album to help you. You'll be better off if you find a Meatloaf album. And I didn't keep up with Meatloaf. Like I didn't buy all the, this is the only Meatloaf album I own, and I think that's okay. If you have one, you can do this one. He's also in the Roadie movie with Alice Cooper. But if you're an Alice Cooper fan, we'll talk about that later. But
he's also in Fight Club, but that's a very different movie.
Which is right. And I feel like there's a whole generation of people who probably only know him from Fight Club on. He was in The Apprentice right after that. He had I think his third act may have pleased you and I less. I mean, Fight Club was huge. Like he's great in Fight Club. And he did have kind of an acting career, but became a bit of a media, I don't know what, near the end.
More of a joke at that point.
Yeah, kind of.
It may have been a joke for his musical career too. And that's the thing too. I didn't know this, But when he had his comeback from I'll Do Anything for Love,
Yeah.
he never stopped touring. He said that he and the band and the backup singers or whatever were on tour this whole time. Like, he's been doing it. There's no comeback. It's just nobody's paying attention.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Nobody
And
cares.
they've been selling albums the whole time. I mean, it's a weird career to think like he hit on something that he could just keep doing. And again, talking, I kind of mentioned Peter Gabriel at the beginning and guys who just sort of do their own thing. And I guess in a way, Meatloaf is kind of that guy too. Like, he did this thing that was not super popular. A lot of people weren't doing the Steinman thing, and certainly not for a whole album of kind of over the top 50s goodness. But yeah, he did it.
We failed to mention Rocky Horror.
Yes, right? He is
that
famously in the Rocky Horror Pictures. What's the name of the character he plays?
I think it's Rocky.
Rocky, is it right? That's right, Rocky.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Of course it's Rocky. And is great in that too, and has some pretty great singing part.
Yep.
So he is an icon of that era. I feel like the late 70s, early 80s. Like, there's something like very Meatloaf about that era.
A thing unto himself. Yeah.
Indeed, a man unto himself. The Loaf, Mr. Loaf.
Mr. Loaf.
So I will turn. Let's see if I can transition this.
Yep.
Ooh, we're moving. No. That's next. Hold on. Wait. Nah, I got no good transition. The next one I got on Robert's list is Badlands by Metal Church from the album Blessing in Disguise. And I was happy to tell Robert as soon as I saw this on the list that I have seen Metal Church in concert during the 1990-91, I think, Operation Rock and Roll tour. I saw Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, Motorhead, Dangerous Toys, and Metal Church all on one big tour. It was kind of like the low rent Monsters of Rock tour. Remember, the Monsters of Rock was huge and had been huge, and then they're like, and there's Operation Rock and Roll, which are like the bands I care about, but they weren't like largely popular. But I love Judas Priest and Alice Cooper, obviously, and Motorhead. I was a big fan. I didn't know anything about Dangerous Toys and Metal Church, and I wish I could tell you I remember a lot about the Metal Church show, but it was just a long time ago. I wasn't even on anything. I didn't even drink anything. I just don't remember because it was a long, long time ago.
Right.
And I'm old. But musically, this is great. Like, again, kind of like a little bit like the Alice in Chains. I'm like, in the 80s, there were just like so many metal bands doing kind of the adjacent work, not the same work. Like, they were, and I feel like I anyway, like, picked 3 or 4 of them to pay attention to. And Metal Church just wasn't one that I picked. But like, listening to this, I'm like, this dude is like would slip right into my tape collection in my old car in high school perfectly fine. Like, I wouldn't miss a beat. So it immediately kind of takes me back to those 80s metal days. It opens with this kind of like delicate reverb laden picked guitar, and a real like heavy drum part. And I don't know, like, I don't know how many vocalists there are in the band. I feel like maybe there are 2 vocalists in this song, but this guy's voice is like, I was pretty sure it was Rob Halford from Judas Priest at some point, because he sounds like remarkably like Halford. And it's a great voice. Like, it's a great metal voice. I think Halford has like one of those metal voices that, like Dickinson, like, if you can do that, do that. Like, if you can sound like him, like, don't sound like yourself, sound like him, because he's amazing. And so there's a couple metal guys that I feel like that are really great to emulate, and Halford's one of them. And I don't know if it's intentional or not, but this guy like nails his voice. And like, really, you could have put this song like on my Judas Priest tape and I wouldn't have blinked. Like, I would have thought it was him. But yeah, it's really good. The song itself, I think, is like a pretty straightforward narrative, maybe about like the narrator crossing a desert or a badlands and like thinking like immediately this was a terrible idea. Like, I shouldn't have done this. Yes. Like, and there's this kind of like, there's like some physical stuff, but mental stuff too. Like, he starts to hear voices talking to you. Like, are those real voices? Am I hearing things? So there's this real kind of struggle. And it's got this like long kicking instrumental piece it goes out on that's really, and that feels like really 80s metal to me too. Like, you tell the story and then you rock like, you like rage your way out of the song. And so I dig this. It made me, I wrote my notes. It makes me want to revisit the Metal Church catalog. We listen to a lot of metal music when we're gaming at the game table. And I'm like, this would fit right in. I'm like, I could slip a Metal Church album into that rotation and we would be good. So I'm curious, since I kind of missed Metal Church in the grand scheme of things, like what you can tell me about them or how they kind of like got on your radar.
So they were a band out of Washington State, I think Seattle, but they were never grunge. They were always
right. They were always
far more straight ahead metal.
Right.
They
Even
were
it says so in their name.
Yes. Yeah. It's important. They had a kind of revolving door of musicians. There's one guy who was like the guy behind Metal Church, one of the lead guitarists. But there was different singers, there were different guitarists, drummers, whatever. Yeah. This cycle of albums, there was 3 albums with this new singer, Mike Howe is his name.
Okay.
And he was only one guy he could hit. He had like 3 different ranges that he worked through. Really good. Excuse me. And I saw this on Headbangers Ball back in the day.
Deep cut.
Well, but I mean, there was no way to get introduced to metal. This is pre-internet. They didn't play this on the radio. Headbangers Ball was where we learned about new stuff. I know you were the crazy person who could buy albums and go, this looks cool, I'll take it.
I did buy a lot of things based on the cover, some of which worked out, many of which didn't. And my brothers were all kind of into heavy metal, so I had a little from them. But you're right, it was really hard. And without the internet, or we didn't live anywhere near a college radio station who might have had a metal show.
Yeah.
So Headbangers Ball was it.
We did tape trading. That was the thing too. We did have, hey man, what are you listening to? Oh, it's awesome. I'll make you a copy.
Right, I'll dub it.
And exactly. Oh my God, so good. Anyway, so Metal Church, heard this song, loved it, bought the album, loved the whole album, is good end to end. I know we've talked before about that there are just albums that I will put on and listen to, and I can't pull out one song out in particular. Right. But this one I pulled out. I've liked Metal Church for a long time. They dissipated. That's not the word I'm looking for.
Broke up?
They broke up, fell apart after the 3rd album with Mike Howe. It was kind of like the height of grunge. It was around maybe 95. And if it wasn't grunge, it wasn't selling records.
Right. So it probably rough years for them.
Yeah. So 20 years later, they came back with a different singer again.
Yeah.
Wasn't well received. I bought the album, but I was like, it's all right.
It's okay. It's not,
And kind of everybody went, where's Mike Howe? And Mike Howe was a carpenter living with, raising kids and whatever else.
Yeah.
He came back to the band. He did 3 albums. Everything was great. COVID hit, and I don't know the circumstances. He didn't. Yeah. I see you ready for the news.
I'm afraid I know where this story's going.
He did not catch COVID that we're aware of, but he killed himself. He committed suicide for we don't know why. The band said something about he got some bad information, and that was all that was said. And there was a whole thing of he had COVID or somebody lied to him about COVID or whatever. I don't know.
Oh man, that's crazy.
It's tragic. He's an amazing singer. They sounded so good together.
Yeah.
He may have even sounded better on this new stuff. I told you specifically to get the 2015 version just because I think the 1980s production versus the 2015 production,
it's
a little
quite a little different. Yeah,
some dynamics.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It's not that the old version isn't bad, but it certainly feels flatter and less lively than the remaster.
Things have changed in
re-recording
30 years or so.
Yeah,
it's been an improvement.
Producing metal is better now. So
yes,
but I've been a big fan, and I was really sad about that. And they then they didn't give up. They tried another singer. It's not the same. It's tough.
No, they had their singer, but he's gone.
Yeah. He
well,
did 6 albums with them.
Yeah, no, he's got a fantastic voice, man. So it's that album and like the 2 after it that he did originally back then, or is this like the first one?
This is the first one.
That?
This was in like 89, and then he came back I think in 2015, and then he died in 2020.
Yeah.
So
well, he must have been with them. That's who I saw.
Yeah.
In 91.
Yeah, he used to have long blonde hair, and then he cut it like everybody else,
Because, exactly, because eventually, mostly, right, we cut it. Well, that's sad. Another one, right? Like had a life, had a life, went back to the life.
And again, if he hadn't have gone back to music, would he still be alive today? I don't know. I don't know the exact circumstances.
Sure.
But it's a mess. It's sad.
No,
and
that's sad.
It's tragic
To think, particularly somebody like you're like, oh, they got out. Oh, they had a career in music, and then they went on to do
became
something
normal.
else. Right. Lead a normal life, or lead something like a normal life, and then to get sucked back into it and kind of lose everything over it is particularly sad.
Agree.
Yeah, I really like that. Metal Church. Thank you for putting them back on my radar after
these many years.
Rock and Roll. Exactly. Right. If you happen to know any good Dangerous Toys songs, you could put those on a future list.
I bet there's like two that I remember back from
That's a really good
Ball
show
again.
for the record. Like Oliver,
I bet.
the Judas Priest and Cooper and Motorhead. Yeah, no, they were great. They were all good. But then I'm sure Metal Church was good too. I just don't remember.
I don't prefer most of the big like outdoor stuff anymore. Screw that noise.
Yeah.
But even the indoor concerts that are like 10 bands or whatever, not my thing.
Yeah.
I did go see Music as a Weapon tour, which was Lacuna Coil. I think it was Quicksand. I'm not sure about them.
Yeah.
Killswitch Engage.
Yeah.
Disturbed. I'm missing somebody. There was another band. I'm pretty sure it was 5 bands on the ticket. That was an amazing show. That was really a lot of fun, and I had a really good time. And I had not really listened to Killswitch Engage before then.
Yeah.
But I found them to be amazing and really enjoyed
nice.
them.
Yeah, that's another band that I know of, but I wouldn't know if you were playing me a Killswitch Engage song.
Well, we can fix that.
See? There we go. See some ideas for next
Yes,
time.
percolating.
Nice.
All right.
Let me see what I got. The next of number 4 on Robert's list. Is that right?
Wait. No, it's mine.
Oh, no, I just did one. I'm sorry. Your turn. My bad. See, I'm ready to. I just can't stop talking.
That's right.
I'm going to sit here and be quiet.
Second longest title is your number 4 is Scenes from an Italian Restaurant by Mr. Billy Joel.
Right.
Fun fact, Billy Joel is one of my wife's all-time favorite musicians. So I've heard this song a lot. So I'm very familiar with this song. Does not make me an expert by any stretch, or that it's on my list of can't live witouts. The theme of this show was originally. But it's certainly one I'm most familiar with of this list. I said basically it's the only one I knew from hearing it more than once. One thing about this song, it's so cinematic. You have a struggle to not picture as he's singing this song. It's about 2 old friends catching up, and then we get them telling the story of Brenda and Eddie, and we wrap up with them kind of like, all right, let's I'll see you again at the Italian restaurant. Anytime you want to get together, we'll have it. I mean, it plays out like such a movie in the mind. And I think that it's probably a tie between this one and Piano Man, that it's like his most cinematic storytelling songs.
Yeah.
Billy Joel, I mean, he is one of the American songbook at this point.
Absolutely.
Although it's funny because you listen to him talk, if he does it like in his modern interviews, he says, people think this was a big hit. This was not a big hit. This was not a big hit. I didn't make a lot of money off this.
Yeah.
He's very kind of self-denigrating. When you think he's so iconic, he doesn't feel the same way, I guess. What do you think? Have you seen him live?
No, I never have. I mean, but I agree with everything you said. I think Billy Joel is an iconic American songwriter. And for me, because you and I were too young for the standards, for the torch songs, for the jazz stuff that were like the American songbook. So it's Billy Joel for me. I mean, it's this album in particular, Stranger, is a perfect album, I think. There are a few albums I will call perfect, but this is one. And and I think, like you said, I think he seems sort of self-denigrating about it, and critics I know have been harsh to him in the past and dismissive, but everybody, like, there's a line. There are people who know all the words to Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, and there are people who don't. And I happen to be friends with a lot of people who know all the words to Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. And it's just, we just grew up with it. And it's something that's, like you said, it's cinematic, it speaks. But I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you and pontificate.
Oh, no.
But I agree. I think he is sort of the American songbook for me. And this is definitely one high up there.
to be fair, I know all the words to Piano Man, not to
That's fair too.
Yeah.
That also counts.
It's
I was in a car
close.
like driving somewhere with a friend of mine we'd never talked about music, and I just put this in, and we both sang like every word. I'm like, you know all the words to that? He's like, you know all the words. It was just a moment where I'm like, oh, look, we're brought
Simpatico.
together by Billy Joel. See?
No, I got to see him. It's the funniest thing. My wife, like I said, huge fan.
Yeah.
She doesn't really like concerts. She's not.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, live music she could live without. I'm
Yeah.
like, I love live music. Anyway, we got tickets to see him at it's in DC. It's gone through lots of names. I don't
Okay.
remember. We call it the phone booth, but it used to be the MCI Center. Now it's Verizon.
Okay. Everything's got 10 names now.
Since
Yeah.
they pay $1 million for the name, I like to call it something other than that. Just
Exactly. Whatever I grew,
screw
right?
your money.
Whatever it was, 10 things ago.
Exactly. Yeah. We were practically to the back wall of this place, 15 miles up.
Right.
And when we saw him, it was after he just had a couple of drunk driving accidents.
Oh no!
And so, but he took it in stride. I mean, he's so New York.
Yes,
he's like,
totally.
Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I really needed you all to be here. My insurance premiums have gone way up lately. I mean, it's awesome. Just no problem. Self-deprecation to the max. But amazing. Just put on everything, and we couldn't see him very well, but the music was lovely.
Yeah.
So and they have some kind of long telescoping lens to see what's going on down there. So far.
Yeah, I've never seen him live. Every live show I've seen has been like packed, and I'm like, to your wife's point, I'm like, I like to see live music under the right circumstances, but in that kind of packed doesn't feel like a great way to me. But yeah, he's packed with Madison Square Garden how many times? Like had a residency there and like sold out.
Anybody ever done that before?
No,
I don't think so. Yeah,
no, I don't think so either. No,
so
it's It's I think it's I think it's one of his most amazing songs, and I love it also really captures, like, even as a young man, like, these were 77, he couldn't have been that old when he wrote these, but there's all this like great stuff about kind of your now versus then, this kind of nostalgia and the rub of now against then, and there's all this stuff about what happens after this marriage breaks, that they couldn't go back to the greasers, the best they could do was pick up their pee. There's all this stuff about how you can't, like, you kind of get one bite at some of these things, and if it doesn't work, then the people that you grew up with are always kind of going to see you in that way. Like Brenda and Eddie will always be like the couple, like like the good looking.
It's like Sick and Tired. Brenda and Eddie go together. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I really like that. I think it's got it's a cleverly written song, I think, too, and it has, like you said, it has this great sort of frame narrative of just the friends like catching up, and the narrator's like awesome. Yeah. He's like, hey, things are okay with me. I got a job, I got a new wife, and everything.
Oh, but what did you hear?
Yeah. He's like, oh, but let me tell you about Brendan. You talk about these other people so it just
it's a gossip song, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's a gossip song, and it kind of, for me as a teenager, it sort of slotted into kind of a similar space as Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, it's that kind of sort of like really like rapid fire, lots of words, and like but like a really engaging narrative that is, it's there if you want it, or you can just kind of bop along with the fun movement of the music. And another one kind of that feels like it's got like verse, chorus, but it's in these weird movements, right?
Yeah.
They're sort of like embedded in weird sections that kind of lilt from one place to another rather than drive. So I thought that's kind of interesting too. I'm like, man, this stuff, they've been doing this forever.
And I think, I think it's the longest song in his whole category, or his whole catalog, rather, as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. How was it clocked? Yeah, it clocks in over 7. It's like 7.5 minutes long, which for him, who's like Mr. Radio Ready, like a 3-minute song guy. So you're right. It is like, and I don't know that he wrote many times like this. Yeah, wrote let himself write like this. So it stands out as kind of a little unique in his catalog for me. Which is one of the reasons I like it, and like you said, very cinematic, and also probably something that appeals to me about it is that great storytelling element, and that it's very visual.
Yes, very good,
sir. All right, now
you may jump ahead.
Now I get to go to the next one on Robert's list. Oh man, which is Mekong by the Refreshments
Yes, indeed.
and this is an amazing album title. Fizzy Fuzzy Big and Buzzy is the album, which is an amazing title. I even had to write it down. It says that in my notes. I don't know how this is another band where I'm like, they maybe weren't that big, but I think I missed them, but I'm not 100. I'm like, do I know? Have I ever heard this? And maybe, but it's great. I love this. I've noted that this is like, it's immediately shot to the top of my list of things that we've talked about on your list.
Wow.
I really like this. Like, it just immediately opens up. It's got kind of a reggae feel. It's very different than a lot of stuff on your list to this point.
Swerve.
It is. I mean, it's not, I get it, but it's different. It's a lot lighter. It's a little more bar bandy. It sounds like a bar band to me, which I love. It got that feel down, but it's got this great kind of almost like reggae feel to it. And immediately when I hear it, it puts me in mind of like really early Men at Work stuff, like from the 80s.
Yeah.
Like there's like a tune called "It's a Mistake" by Men at Work back from the early 80s on their second album that has a very kind of similar verse feel.
It's that very choked up guitar.
Anyway, I immediately kind of grabbed onto this. It's super groovy. It's funny too. It's got kind of a very, like I'm just like somebody in a bar far from home where they maybe don't want to be, but they got nowhere else to be. So they're kind of talking out loud, talking to the bartender, the other people in the bar. And yeah, there's some great lines. I came all the way from Taipei today is an amazing line. It's fun to sing, and the way they sing it is perfect. But yeah, they're just like, it's a kind of a simple song about sort of sitting at the bar, killing time, missing your girl who's like 15,000 miles away because you're traveling, presumably for the band or work or something. And yeah, I had allowed myself to do a little research on this band and learned that I do know of a song that they perform, and it's the King of the Hill theme. I'm like, that song is amazing. I know that song. So, and I mean, the little bit I read sounded like they sort of started as a bar band and like developed bar band chops. Like, bar bands are notoriously like really tight and quite good at what they do because they have to do it over and over and over again, night after night,
every night,
and kind of hone these skills. So yeah, I just thought this was a lot of fun, and it's another one that's, you could kind of just like listen to it as easy breezy, but it's also another one that I think there's like a deeper level. Like, it is kind of a sad song in its way that I'm like, this is what I have to do. I can kill my time in this bar. And there are a couple lines that let on that I don't think the narrator likes it quite as much as the bounce of the song lets on.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, there's just this melancholy disappointment.
Yeah, and it's really nicely done, right? Because it has that character of like that somebody talking to you in a bar who is kind of trying to make themselves feel better. It's like I'm projecting a positive attitude, or I'm interested in you because I don't want to think too much about me, what's going on here. So yeah, so I thought it was a really fun package, but also kind of a little stealthy message that I liked. Yeah.
So the Refreshments came out of Arizona. They were Tempe, I think, Arizona.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Tempe, whatever.
Tempe. We'll take.
They were only around for 2 albums. Then they had a problem. I think something happened with their lead guitar player. He got either drugged or alcohol dependent and sold their rights. And the rest of the band went, "Why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that." The half of them, the drummer and the singer, continue on today with a band called Roger Klein, which is the guy's name.
Okay.
And the Peacemakers, they are still around. They tour pretty regularly.
Nice.
And they sound very similar to the Refreshments. I mean, there's
I bet.
Even though it's a different band, same singer, songwriting very similar, pretty good stuff.
Nice. Roger Klein.
Klein.
And
Peacemakers.
And the Peacemakers.
Yeah, RCMP.
Nice.
Roger Klein. Or PM.
RCPM.
Peacemakers. There we go. That makes more sense.
There we go. Not the mounted police, but the Peacemakers.
Right. Peacemakers. This song off their first album, definitely, they called it some smirk rock. Like, it's kind of like, we're in on the joke, you're in on the joke, we're just going to have fun with it. It's a good time. It's got that very jangly, there was a lot of other Arizona bands that were coming out at the time. There was the Gin Blossoms.
Yep,
there was, there was another band that they were apparently really good friends with. Similar sound, kind of, a little bit more down to earth than like the super jangly stuff like Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Right. Yeah, I remember Toad. That was a big.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Who I loved, but very different.
I did too.
Yeah.
A very different vibe for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, always enjoyed this. It's a great song. I had to include one of their songs, and this one jumps out as being particularly disappointed.
Yes, it is. I think it's the perfect combination of kind of that shiny, fun style and sadly disappointed narrator. It's good. That's a rub I like. Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, I dig it too.
It's a theme, sadly.
Indeed, it is. It is. Yep.
So
I just
we're
nice
going to talk about theme. We're going to talk about your sneaky theme that you brought in.
We can talk about that. Speaking of which.
All right. So, song 5 by Damon for episode 4 is "King of the Silver Screen" by Alice Cooper. Again, Mr. Alice Cooper. I think this is his third appearance on the show.
I think so. I think I left him off 1 out of 4 lists.
Yes.
So
You love the man.
I do.
It's our old friend Alice. This one is sort of a slow burn for him. I mean, this one does not get to its point quickly. But it's a big manly man who at night fantasizes about being in the movies, being an entertainer, being a dancer, a hero, a star. Wait, what he really wants to be is a woman.
That's ultimately, he seems to really want to be a woman. Yeah.
Maybe a cross-dresser, but maybe a full-on woman. I would say that, this many years on, this song wouldn't have aged well, but we're talking about Alice Cooper, who basically was pretty much a cross-dresser himself.
We can. There's some interesting stuff going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot, under the surface, if you will.
That's right.
I don't think there's any freak show look to this. It's just fine, damn it, this is my fantasy. This is what I really want, even if I'm a big manly linebacker of a man.
Exactly.
I don't care what you think, even though you're beating the crap out of me for saying so.
Right.
So. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, and it too, it has a lot of cinematics to it. Again, it's a song about a guy who wants to be in the movies. So you're right. There are movements of, almost like circus-y kind of background music.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the end, it all kind of comes crashing down. All right, damn it, this is what I really want.
Hallelujah is the music I think that's playing in the background. But yeah,
it's the Battle Hymn for the Republic.
That Battle Hymn of the Republic. That's right. Yes. There you go. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So subverts the expectations a little bit, Mr. Cooper. King of the Silver Screen, which becomes Queen of the Silver Screen throughout the song at the very end. So hit me.
Well, I was thinking there are at least 3 Alice Cooper songs I can think of off the top of my head that are at least about heterosexual cross-dressing and possibly about homosexual, transgenderism, or wanting to essentially be the other sex rather than just dress in their clothes. And I honestly kind of don't know, this one seems maybe a little confused, given that it's from 77 itself about what it's about, which I think starts as sort of like a cross-dresser, but maybe is actually someone who wants to be a woman. But this is off of Alice Cooper's 3rd solo album, and he's kind of starting to lose it here. The songs on this album, he's getting into a hard time, and it's starting to show in the music in some interesting ways. I actually have my Alice Cooper shirt on. This was from the Lace and Whiskey album, and
don't recognize that at all.
He invented a character. So Vincent Fernier is the name of Alice Cooper. He legally changed his name to Alice Cooper, the character. But at some point here in about 77, Alice Cooper starts to be difficult to be. So Alice Cooper creates his own persona, which is who is this is Maurice Escargot. He's a detective. It's right. And this whole album are sort of like weird detective songs, or they all have this kind of weird 40s, 50s TV noir bent. And King of the Silver Screen comes on there, and it just seems kind of perfect to me about somebody who doesn't really know who they are. And I'm like, this guy, you want to talk about somebody who's struggling with kind of identity crisis.
Right.
The album after this, he checks himself into rehab, writes an album about it with Bernie Taupin, who of Elton John fame. And then he sort of develops a really bad cocaine problem and writes a bunch of albums that he doesn't remember writing, which we'll talk about, which are some of my favorites too. So this is kind of like the beginning of the end for me. I'm like, as a fan who loves his music and sort of traces it, I'm like, there are hints on this album as to this kind of crisis. And I just find it really fascinating that somebody who creates this persona manages to get themselves into such a bind that their persona needs a mask. Like, I need to hide from even being this guy that I made up. Like, I need to be
some Canterbury Tale shit right here.
Yeah.
You're down deep in the story in a story.
Exactly. And the King of the Silver Screen is very much about kind of like a working Joe who dreams of being, we think, in the movies, and it's very cinematic. And then at the end, it kind of has this dramatic fall apart where he wants to be.
Well, he says he wants to be with Fred Astaire.
That's right.
You think he wants to be Fred Astaire, but in fact, he wants to be Ginger Rogers.
Dance with Fred Astaire. So there's always, and Alice Cooper, bless his heart, was always willing to sort of wade into the sexual fray much earlier than other artists. So a lot of them are, even this one, I listened to it, I'm like, is this problematic now? It's way more problematic than it was in 1977.
Right.
But I don't think there's anything, ultimately, I think
attack.
No, it's not an attack. And there's some things about it that are maybe a little unartful at the end in his sort of confession about being like a 240-pound linebacker with the Detroit Lions or something. There's some of them that are kind of like a little on the nose or broad now. But I just like the for me, it sort of resonates because I know that I know that he's having this kind of crisis. And I feel that this song is kind of like a neat little window into it in another way. And there are some other songs. So for me as a fan, I think I might hear it a little bit differently. And as just like a casual listener, I like that it has this, that sort of big cinematic feel. And it's got these weird, like clearly cribbed from movie, like dun, 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 brum, bum, bum. Like, I don't even know where that comes from, but it's so iconic and like, noir movies. So he's a big fan of old movies, and that shows in this album and clearly in this song. But I think it's in terms of his tunes that are like big kind of production numbers, this one I like and is a lot of fun, and also has kind of like a little undercurrent where I'm like, I can see that you're also like struggling really with who you are and like what you who you need to be to keep doing this. And so that's kind of interesting to me.
The multifacets there that are under the surface.
Right, exactly. The struggle of the artist to keep making art as as they start to lose themselves. Talk about the cost of doing this kind of thing.
Right.
And I think there is a price, and people. Yeah, Alice Cooper definitely paid it in the 70s and the 80s. Yeah.
As Robin Williams said, cocaine was God's sign that you had too much money.
That's right. Let's take that. Separate that from
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. Alice Cooper talks a lot about drinking. He was an alcoholic for many years and stopped, but he very rarely speaks about the cocaine. But it's very clear he had a cocaine. It's well documented. People who did it with him and had, he lost years to it, but he's very hesitant to talk about it, which is interesting to me. It seems like for somebody who's so open about the alcoholism and talking about the drinking, to be very guarded about that means it must bother him in a way, or speak somehow to his character in a way he doesn't feel comfortable talking about.
Especially if he lost years to it. I mean, that is a very big deal to an entertainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about some of those lost years more, just not today.
Foreshadowing. Yes.
Foreshadowing, sir. Foreshadowing.
Yep.
All right. I have number 5 on Robert's list. This is, I'm not going to say this right. I know.
I'll tell you, it's real easy.
Okay.
They have an inverted letter because somebody else had the same name of the band.
Okay.
It's Paris.
Okay, Paris.
It's not Purvis.
Song. Yes. Okay, I was gonna say Purus as like it's a U.
Yeah.
Okay, Paris. The
it's
song
an inverted
is
A. Yeah.
No Mercy. Well, that makes perfect sense because it's a V. Just flip it up and it's an A. I got it. So Paris. The song is No Mercy from the album All We Know of Heaven and All We Know of Heaven, All We Need of Hell. There's no and in there, Damon. Just a comma. So, which is a great title, by the way. As an amazing album title. Again, this it's a female vocalist, like right from the beginning, and like my very first note is like her vocal style is something else. Like it is like a attention grabber. It moves from it's got a I don't know what kind of range she's got, but it feels to me like it runs from like a really high female range or like a pretty high to like a more like lower sultry kind of register. And it's impressive. Like just to hear it as an instrument, like her voice is pretty great. And I like the song too. Musically, it's got like a few repeating sections. The drums are like really stand out. The other instrumentation's like really dense. Like her voice and the drums really stand out to me, and everything else is kind of like a chunk. I like it, but it's like it's clearly mixed that way, I think, to make like the drums stand out and her voice stand out and everything else to kind of drive it in the middle. It's pretty keyboardy, and later on like I can kind of hear the bass, but it generally like all that stuff in the middle I feel like is pretty tightly woven together. But it's a real toe tapper. That's why I said like that Show Me No Mercy refrain is really catchy. There's like that refrain is like you hear it once or twice and you're singing it the rest of the song. And it reminds me, I noted this and I didn't go back to prove it, so it may be a lie. But I said that it reminds me a little bit of some of the other like more electronic music tunes that maybe we've talked about in the past, more so than the other stuff on this list. That said, I puzzled over the lyrics on this one a lot, like wood with Alice in Chains. I'm like, I don't really understand what this song is about. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel like it's an ill-written song. I just feel like I don't know exactly what they're talking about. But the refrain and the chorus and her voice like carry me along no problem. But I'd never heard of this band. I don't think I've never heard of this song. So I was like really curious to know more about how this ended up on your radar, and if this is like one of many that you like, or this is like the song they do that you like.
So Paris, I heard about because a guitar player that I really like found one of their guitar solos really fascinating and was just playing it on like Instagram or something.
Yeah.
Maybe Facebook. I don't know what it was. But said, this is an awesome guitar solo. And he played it, and I went, never heard of this song band.
Yeah.
I checked it out, and I'm like, they sound great. So that's where I picked them up. I mean, it was
there you go. Nice.
The weird way to come into something. Yeah. Used to be kind of this post-punk band. They got a new singer, a female singer named Lynn Gunn. Her name is Gundafson or something. She's amazing. She's kind of become the band. Like everybody else in the band has been shed away. They brought her in, and then slowly they've all gone their own separate ways. This album, I think she wrote everything, and I think she just had other people do the instrumentation, but it's all her.
Yeah,
and now it's just all her. They're literally gone. I think the song is almost all her songs are very kind of bad relationship breakup, or sometimes the start of a relationship or whatever else. But she has some rough times. I mean, she's no Taylor Swift, but
there's some masochism here, isn't there? Like hurt me, or there's some stuff here like where it's like clearly somebody who's having a bad time, but maybe not ready to get out of that bad time.
Right. Yeah. It's you're really gonna hurt me. It's really gonna leave a mark, but do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's a great sound. I think that they have a bunch of amazing songs on this album. The album before it is where I really found their best, more kind of alt rock style. Now they've gone, as she's taken over, she's brought in a little bit more electronica sound, so they don't have kind of the same guitar forward. This one is definitely on the border between keyboard forward, guitar forward.
Kind of starting to maybe move that. Yeah, and you feel it for sure. Like I'm like,
but she's so good. Her singing is amazing, and her emotions are just in your face.
Oh,
So
she's a great performer. Yeah, like you can tell between not only the range, but yeah, like the way she sings. Like she's not dialing it in. She's like all there. So no, it's really good. Really well
Yep.
done.
And I didn't have, there was no, thought of I need to have a certain, thing in my list here this time. But I was just going through, I have to say, sometimes what I'll do is I'm thinking, I don't know what songs to put on. I'll just, go into randomizer. And I have
right. And let it play some songs.
Library of thousands and thousands of songs.
What have I forgotten I have?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's nice. So, I think that's a fine way. Yeah.
It's certainly random.
Right. Well,
it's my way.
Gave me, I was happy to hear this. And another one. Yeah, there's a few on this list. I'm like, I'd never heard like the Mekong song. I'm like, that's great for the refreshments. I'm like, that's great. This one's a lot of fun and her voice is amazing. So, yeah. Nice.
I haven't had a repeat yet, but not from lack of trying. I mean, it's just because I had such a deep bench.
That's right. That's where you keep pulling them. Well, I will repeat like nobody's business.
I'm expecting there's going to be 5 Steely Dan songs one time.
I'm not going to do that to you, Robert. You took one for the team, and I appreciate it. Even allowed me to joke about it a little bit afterwards. Though you did threaten to stop being my friend. But then
I sent you that book, so
that's true. Got me that book, which is amazing, by the way.
Let me be clear. Anyway. I didn't buy him the book.
You didn't buy him. He told me the book existed.
Yeah.
I purchased the book.
I didn't know if he'd actually won it, but it sounds like it worked out well.
I sure did. Yeah, no, it's a good one.
It's
a good one. Yeah. Well,
all right, so theme. Before we wrap up, let's talk theme.
Yeah.
So, your 5 songs. I don't know that I saw a clear theme other than it's larger than life, the 70s. Not all of them are bombastic. There's some of that to it. I don't know. What's the theme? What did you feel?
I was kind of looking for songs that hit this sort of like that I think crossover into my Damon probably really would have loved musical theater because he loves these songs, which I feel are all really performative or, I feel like any of these songs you could step onto a stage and perform as like part of a musical and they would fit right in, right? That there's something,
rock opera.
Very much about that. And I think that's just a thing that as I've gotten older and looked back at kind of the music that I was drawn to as a teenager, I'm like, I didn't even realize that was a thing. But clearly these songs I think show that, that's pretty the performance or just kind of a vaudeville or some sort of like performative aspect to them that appeals to me, or that it certainly doesn't bug me because I keep liking them. So I think it's it's probably a tenuous theme at best, but you're right. No. A couple of them are pretty bombastic and some of them are more laid back, but I feel like they're all kind of performative or like characters telling stories.
Right. But I think that's true for pretty much everything that you've given me. I mean, I'm almost there too, but I do feel like there's sometimes where the emotion is more than there's no like beginning, middle, end. It's just a one note emotion, but it is such a good one. We're going to go with it.
Or I mean, like, that No Mercy song to you. Like, it's a little vague. Like, it's not a direct story. We can't translate it like we could, scenes from an Italian restaurant, which is you can really see. But at the same time, it doesn't mean it's not good at delivering it as an emotional vehicle for what's happening. It's very good. But just different, like a different way of delivering the news, so to speak.
If this were a rock opera, it would just be, one piece of many. There'd have to be many more pieces of story.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. We're going to need a lot of songs to tell this story. So, a kind of a loose theme, I suppose. But I thought
it works.
Yeah. Well, very good, sir. We've done it again. Another 10 songs up and 10 songs down.
Wow. 40 songs in our catalog
40 songs in our herd.
Our greatest hits, if you will.
That's right. It's quite a greatest hits album. It's pretty good.
It's our freedom rock.
That's right.
Nobody's going to get that.
Right.
Nobody's going to get that at all.
You'll appreciate this. The playlist that I have on my phone that I use to keep track of songs that I may put on the list is called Not Freedom Rock. Because I think you suggested the very first title you suggested for our show was Freedom Rock. And I thought that was hysterical and had not thought of those Freedom Rock commercials for a very long time.
So long.
Yes.
Oh my.
Thank you. Thanks for the memories. And if you know what we're talking about, well,
You're old.
that's right. We have some idea of when you were born too.
Yes. Turn it up, man.
All
Turn it
right,
up.
sir. Well, we
All
will
right.
do it. We'll get this one out, and
Yep.
we'll plan another one. Not next week, but probably next.
You know, it could be if we would get our act together.
It could be.
It'd
That's
be
right.
2 weeks.
That's what it could be.
Yeah.
We will no promises, but maybe you will hear from us again.
Yes.
We promise.
There will be a number 5, and hopefully many more.
Exactly. All right.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
good. All right. Thank
Bye-bye.
you, sir. Bye now.
A Bandersnatch production.